Body-worn cameras are small video-audio recording devices worn on police officers' uniforms, either usually in the chest area, on the lapel or collar, or mounted on a headband or on sunglasses. Although several models are available, all body cameras provide the same basic function. They are essentially designed to record officer activities and encounters with citizens. Policies vary from agency to agency, but the cameras are generally activated when officers respond to emergencies or interact with members of the public. Videos that are recorded by a body camera are typically stored on the camera itself until the data are transferred to a larger storage mechanism where they can be accessed at a later time. A few police departments in the U.S. began experimenting with body cameras in the early to mid-2000s, although interest in the technology has grown considerably in more recent years. Several high-profile cases around the country involving the controversial use of deadly force by police generated a growing demand for increased accountability concerning police actions. These incidents prompted a great deal of political pressure to expand the use of body cameras in the U.S. on the premise that the technology can help to enhance transparency and build community trust. In fact, in late 2014, the Obama administration proposed $75 million to help local agencies acquire body cameras. Since that time, many departments around the U.S. have either equipped officers with the technology or they are in the process of doing so. There are several perceived benefits to body cameras. One argument is that they demonstrate a police agency's willingness to be open and transparent in terms of the activities of their officers. Since body cameras record officer behaviors, police can be held accountable for their actions. Greater transparency and openness on the part of police agencies may improve police-community relations, build trust, and enhance legitimacy in the eyes of the public. Many also believe that body cameras can help protect citizens from acts of police misconduct. Officers are certainly aware that body cameras record their activities. Since their superiors, the courts, the media, or the public could potentially view those recordings, officers may be more likely to act with integrity and professionalism when interacting with citizens. Body cameras, therefore, can potentially reduce police misconduct, including discourtesy complaints, abuse of authority, and the unnecessary use of force. Body cameras can also potentially help protect officers. Because the cameras record from an officer's point of view, the recordings provide a different perspective than what is often observed by bystanders. Some believe that video from an officer's perspective will help demonstrate that police actions are justified. Recordings can therefore be used to help exonerate officers who are mistakenly or falsely accused of improper actions. In addition, many believe that citizens who are aware of body cameras on officers may be less confrontational when interacting with the police. There are other advantages to body cameras as well. For instruction and training purposes, video from the cameras can demonstrate examples of proper techniques that are performed in the field. Body cameras can also make investigation practices more efficient. The cameras can record visual evidence, victim statements, and witness accounts at the scene of incidents, making it easier for police to gather and review information. There have been several studies conducted on the effectiveness of body cameras. One of the first was a large experiment conducted in Las Vegas with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, which was one of the first large agencies in the U.S. to equip officers with the technology. The results of that experiment demonstrated that officers with body cameras had fewer incidents of uses of force and fewer complaints of misconduct than officers without body cameras. Results of other studies are generally consistent with the Las Vegas experiment, although there is some variation from study to study. In short, when it comes to misconduct complaints and use of force, body cameras appear to have some impact. We don't always know, however, if it's because officers are behaving differently toward citizens or if it's because citizens who are aware of the technology are behaving differently toward officers. Studies have also demonstrated that body cameras produce considerable cost savings for police departments. Most of these savings are the result of fewer complaints for misconduct, fewer resources spent on investigating complaints of misconduct, and likely fewer lawsuits associated with police misconduct. While there appear to be some benefits, there are also limitations to body cameras. For example, the cameras are not constantly recording. For several reasons, officers have the ability to turn them on and turn them off. Part of this is related to issues involving officer privacy, but another big reason is related to the extensive costs associated with storing hours and hours of video data. In fact, the costs associated with storing and managing video data can be prohibitively high for some departments. For these reasons and others, officers must have the ability to turn the camera on and off. When exactly an officer can activate and deactivate a body camera therefore becomes a very big policy question for police agencies. There are technical issues with the cameras that limit their abilities as well. For instance, even though body cameras can technically see better than the human eye, many departments limit the technology to only what humans can see. This is done because if a case goes to trial, the officer may be at a considerable disadvantage if attorneys can view the events better than the officer could at the time of the incident. There are other limitations as well. For example, numerous conditions can impact the quality of the recordings. Distortions can occur if the officer is running, scuffling with the suspect, or otherwise engaged in physical activity. And even if the recordings are clear, videos can still be open to interpretation. Several people could view the same video of a controversial interaction between an officer and a citizen and reach very different conclusions regarding the appropriateness of the officer's actions. In other words, just because there may be video of a controversial encounter between an officer and a citizen, this does not mean that the video will necessarily resolve the controversy to everyone's satisfaction. Along with these limitations, there are also potential consequences of body cameras on officers. For example, there are numerous privacy issues with body cameras. We have to remember that most events that gain public notoriety, such as police use of deadly force, are very rare given the number of contacts that police have with citizens. Other types of police contacts are much more common, such as assisting people in distress, helping with medical emergencies, dealing with traffic accidents, managing family or neighborhood disputes, and aiding juveniles. This means the cameras will record many events where people are exposed and vulnerable. This is a concern for those who worry about government intrusion into the private lives of citizens. Along the same lines, some believe that victims, witnesses, and informants may be less likely to approach an officer if they know that conversations will be recorded. Another possible consequence of body cameras is that officers may shift to a more legalistic style of policing. For example, officers with body cameras may be more inclined to issue citations rather than warnings in situations that involve a high degree of discretion, such as minor traffic violations. This is because officers may feel more comfortable taking formal action, or feel pressure to take formal action, knowing that evidence of the violation is on video record. There is actually some evidence that this is already happening. In the Las Vegas experiment that was previously mentioned, although use of force and complaints of misconduct is decreased, officers with body cameras made more arrests and issued more citations than officers without body cameras. Another possible consequence of body cameras is that officers may become less proactive in terms of managing community problems. Aware that their actions are being recorded, police may be reluctant to engage in self-initiated activities so as to avoid scrutiny over discretionary decisions. In terms of public opinion of body cameras on police, for the most part, citizens are very supportive of the technology, although there are some important caveats to this opinion. People are concerned, for example, about exactly who has access to video records. While people think that they should have access to their own interactions with officers, they worry about others or the media having access to those videos. People are also inconsistent regarding the intended outcomes of body cameras. For example, while people generally believe that body cameras can increase the transparency of police work, they are much less convinced in the ability of body cameras to increase trust in police or improve police-citizen relationships. And most are not convinced that body cameras can dramatically decrease racial tensions between police and members of minority communities. Equipping police with body cameras is far more complicated than simply attaching the equipment to officers' uniforms and sending them out on patrol. Agencies face many policy-related questions. Several of these include, when should officers activate and deactivate body cameras? Should officers be allowed to review videos before making statements? What videos should be stored and for how long? What is the disciplinary process for officers who fail to record an incident? Should officers inform citizens when they are being recorded? Should officers stop recording at a citizen's request? And if so, when? And finally, where's the process for media or freedom of information requests? This is a very important question because some states consider virtually any information gathered by police to be public domain, which means that anyone can request any video. To date, there has been very little case law regarding body-worn video, so police departments must be very careful in considering these questions and many others when designing policy.